I'm Rocky Anderson, former mayor of Salt Lake City, presently executive director of High Road for Human Rights, and I've lived in the Salt Lake City area almost all of my adult life. I was an undergraduate and did some graduate work at the University of Utah. Went away for 3 years after taking a couple of years off after college. Went away for law school, came back, and have been here ever since. Practiced law for 21 years. And Sam Weller's bookstore has played a role in my life the entire time, ever since my college days. I remember coming here, going through the philosophy section of the books, buying Christmas presents here. You always find somebody that works at Sam Weller's who can give you good ideas, who knows the books. You can tell they love reading. When I was mayor, I bought books for everybody in my office for several years for the holidays, Christmas holidays. And characteristic of me during the holidays, I'd come in 1 or 2 days before Christmas, and I'd have my list, the subjects, and a staff member would help me go through. I'd have 20, 25 books purchased in a very short period of time. They'd wrap them all for me, label them so I know who I'm giving them to. Always very helpful. But Sam Weller's bookstore is the kind of place that builds community. I remember running into Ron Boyce here all the time when I was practicing law. He's a great legal scholar. He was professor at the University of Utah, renowned, very beloved. Probably one of the greatest, most respected lawyers and later a magistrate judge ever in the history of Utah. I'd come in here during my lunch hour. My law office was just down the street, run into Ron. He'd always be packing some books out. He was probably Weller's Books' best customer, I would think. The urban legend is he didn't have room for all of his books, and he started putting them in the dishwasher. Apparently he and his wife didn't use their dishwasher. But Sam Weller's is a place where you run into people that you know in the community, you get to know the employees, and it's all about reading, it's about knowledge, it's about ideas, and fundamentally it's about community. And that's what differentiates these great bookstores from the big category killers. I went into Barnes & Noble one year. I've got to admit I ran in to get a book real quickly. I was in the neighborhood and ran in, wanted a recent work of fiction. Asked the person behind the counter, can you give me a recommendation? I'm looking for a recent work of fiction. And he looked at me quizzically and he said, what do you mean? And that's the kind of experience you have in those big boxes. You get your selection during busy times, you wait in line, in this cattle line to go up and give them your money. It's no different than walking into Walmart. It's a world apart from that to come into a place like Zion's Books, Sam Weller's. It's always a pleasure. The smell, the feel of the place, the interactions with the staff and others in the community. It's also been a meeting place for people to speak. We've met here on many occasions where people were speaking about different issues, and Tony and the staff here hosted these groups to have these discussions. So we're going to miss this place on Main Street. I'm glad that Zion's Books will always be part of this community. I hope that the community will always support this bookstore. And whenever one thinks about buying a book, before you get on the internet, think about your decisions are determining, your consumption decisions are determining whether places like this remain in our community. Our community isn't the same without these charming locally owned bookstores, and we need to support them. One other quick story, I got a book as a present from a former girlfriend one year, and it was on, she'd wrapped it with white wrapping paper, but it was solid typewriting, and I carefully unwrapped it and read the typewriting, And it was all her account of how she was going to buy me a book. She wanted to get it done quickly, got on Amazon, and she heard my nagging voice in the back of her brain say, don't be buying your books on the internet. Go down to Sam Weller's and buy a book and support your local bookseller. So she wrote about how she schlepped on down, found a parking place, came in and bought the book, and so I got that book that she gave me that she'd bought at Sam Weller's. And although you don't like to be a nag, it's not a bad thing to remind one another of the importance of our consuming decisions and the importance of supporting our local businesses and keeping this sense of community that places like this are able to provide each and every one of us. Our lives are better for places like Sam Weller Zion's books.